All right, welcome. We are here to talk about the Big Red Elite Equestrian Team for the 2024-2025 season. This is our 5th season as a team. We first just wanted to start off with a few pictures from the years prior to this. That was our group of seniors last year. We had 5 seniors on the team, and we're really going to miss them this year. And then that was a picture of us and a few team members at Nationals. The picture on the left is us at camp last year. So we had a really big team, 29 members from across the state of Nebraska, a couple from Kansas and one from Iowa. So anyone in Nebraska or surrounding states is welcome to join our team. We can have anyone from a beginner to an advanced or open rider as well. And then last year we had our very first national champion on our team. She won the middle school reining at the national show. So that's a picture of us with her. I'm Kelsey Ebke. I'm the head coach of the equestrian team. I'm based out of Ebke Performance Horses in Martell. I own the barn, and that's where a lot of our events and practices are. Since we've started the team, I've coached 4 regional championship teams, a national reining champion, a reserve national reining champion, and our team has had 4 top 10 national team finishes in our first 4 years, actually 5 years now, hopefully. And I'm also an AQHA carded judge and an ABRA carded judge. I was on the collegiate judging team in college. Some of my show experience this year, I was a world champion down at the Pinnacle World, was a reserve world champion, and showed the High Point Reserve Open Ranch horse. I also in college was on the UNL equestrian team. I was the president and went to nationals several times there. And I also serve on the IEA Western National Committee. So I am a voice on how the IEA goes and how it runs.
And then I'm the assistant coach, Emily Kaiser. I rode on the South Dakota State equestrian team on the horsemanship team. I was a member of the 1819 national team. This will be my 3rd year as the assistant coach under Kelsey. My sister rode on the team. I think it's 1st year actually. So I helped, and then Kelsey kind of roped me into helping. I coach the western side of the state. So I live in Gothenburg. We practice quite a bit in Lexington at the indoor arena, but we travel to Lincoln or Martell fairly often to kind of help Kelsey with the big team practices. And then anybody who's on the western side of the state can come practice with me, so we're not traveling nearly as much.
Okay, so I've had a lot of people ask me about the schedule, so I was going to start with that. We're going to kick the season off on September 7th at Ebke Performance Horses, and we'll start off with our high school team members at 8 a.m. So if people need to come the night before and stay, that's fine, but we'll kick it off at 8 a.m. and we'll run a practice with just only our high school team from 8 to 11. Then the middle school team will come and join us for lunch. So then we'll run the middle school team camp from 11 to 2:30 and then kind of wrap things up from there. It's a great chance if you can make it to camp to get to know the team, because there are not very many times that we are all together till the first show, just because we are such a big spread out team. So we really encourage you to come and join us for camp. You do not need to bring a horse, but you can bring a horse if you prefer to ride your own. That's one of the only times where you'll actually be riding your own horse. So if you'd like to bring a horse, that kind of helps us with horsepower as well. We do know a few dates for the season. We do know for sure that our first show is in somewhere near Des Moines, Iowa. I don't know the exact location, on Saturday, October 26th and Sunday, October 27th. So it'll be 2 shows on Saturday, 1 show on Sunday. So the Saturday show will take up most of the day, where the Sunday show will probably wrap up around 1, and then we will head home. So plan that weekend to go out on Friday and come back on Sunday. We run 6 shows. We're allowed to compete in 6 shows in our regular season. So we will get half of our shows done that weekend, and then the other half of our shows will happen at our home show. This is still in the works, but this is our tentative date right now. I have to make sure the facility is available, but we're planning on Saturday, December 14th and Sunday, December 15th. That allows us to use a lot of the university horses while they're over Christmas break. So that time frame was really nice last year. So we're going to try for that again. And then it is confirmed that regionals will be held at UNL, which is a great location place for regionals. And it is tentatively set for April 5th, waiting for UNL to confirm that. But that's only for qualified riders. And then if you are fortunate enough to make it to the national show, that will happen it's usually like the last weekend in June, and sometimes it runs to like early July at the APHA World Show in Fort Worth, Texas.
In horse shows, you only bring yourself and your clothes. No horses. You're not worried about that. We only worry about horses at our hosted show. So that home show will have a lot of horses and require a lot of help, but our away shows we just take ourselves. So to kind of go through camp, Kelsey, as Kelsey mentioned, our camp is going to be September 7th at Ebke Performance Horses. This is a great opportunity to meet everyone else on the team. Like I said, we really don't see each other a whole lot because at practices, there's only probably at max 4 that can come to a practice. So we don't really see our teammates a ton. So this is a good time to kind of meet everyone. We'll go through the format, how it works, the details, what judges are looking for. We practice scoring, and kind of go over how the IEA format is run. And then we also kind of go through and evaluate each rider so we know what division would you be most comfortable in. Yes, like Kelsey said, please think about bringing your own horse. It just helps us to not have to find a lot of extra horses since there's so many of us that are going to be riding. Your horse doesn't have to be shared unless you want it to be. So high school will be from 8 to noon, and then middle school can come at 11 and to 2:30. We'll eat lunch as a whole team. And kind of in the bottom here, a tryout. We've never done one before, but we might if we have a ton of kiddos that are going to be in the same division. So we like to kind of have that up front.
Okay, so practices, this is what I get the most question about. And so I'm going to kind of run through our format. So it's not as daunting as it might seem because we know a lot of you don't live in Lincoln. So we've tried to make it as user-friendly as possible. And this format really did work well last year. Our regular season will run basically from September when we run camp through December of our home show. And then we'll break for the holidays. And if you qualify for regionals, we'll begin regional practice late January or early February. And how practices usually run are in a group format. So about 4 to 5 riders. And this is for sure the schedule in Lincoln. Emily will kind of see the crew in Western Nebraska, what works for them. So if you are from Western Nebraska or somewhere where you might be joining her practices, she will contact you more about that. But for my practices, it worked really well last year to have you come about every other week. So that gives you 6 practices before but throughout the fall season. And then I did have some people come every single week as long as the horsepower and schedule allows. That was awesome. And they made a lot of progress. I'm going to base the group practices on level and division. So kind of riders will be at a similar skill level. When you come to practice, unless you don't have it, I would like you to bring your saddle, a pad, helmet, and spurs. And then if you're willing to bring a horse to share, that is always great because we love having different horses to practice on, but otherwise horses will be provided. Practices will be for about an hour and a half. So you'll come 15 minutes early, get your horse ready. We'll ride for an hour and then you'll untack, groom, and put your horse away. The practices are mainly horsemanship focused just because every rider on our team competes in the horsemanship. So as a group, we'll really focus on the horsemanship and practicing on unfamiliar horses. So I know a lot of members have their own horses and they have their own lessons and shows and things like that. But this is our time to really focus on what is it like when you get on a horse you've never ridden before. So I will have practices in Lincoln. This is still a little tentative, but I'm planning on Sundays for people that have to travel a little bit farther and Thursdays for people that live locally. And then Coach Emily will offer practices, like she said, in Gothenburg or Lexington, and she will figure out that schedule once we know how many people that involves. And all riders are invited to attend either location. So last year I had some riders go out to Lexington and she had some riders come to Lincoln. So we love when you guys can make that time, but we know that it's more doable if you can come when you live a little bit closer. And then I did do like 3 longer Sundays for those members that were really far away. So if you travel 2 hours, then you'd stay for like 2 or 3 hours rather than just coming up to ride for an hour. So then they ended up doing just like 3 long Sundays rather than 6 Sundays. But we'll figure out practice groups and assign a schedule once we know how many kiddos we have. And then we always can add in additional practices for regionals and nationals. We also had some clinics last year, or practice at UNL. So different things like that can be added throughout the year as well.
Lessons are required outside of practices to compete in ranch riding or reining. We'd prefer if you did at least 1 per month with either Coach Kelsey or myself. Horsemanship practices are also encouraged, but like Kelsey said, we'll work on those probably quite a bit in our general practices. These can be group, semi-private, private setting. Last year I had a couple girls who would carpool together. And then they just come and ride together as a couple, just 2 of them, or they'd bring their own horses and ride after the practice or something. So we're super flexible, but we do want you guys to come practice and take lessons so we feel as prepared as possible when we go to the shows.
And a lot of, sorry, go ahead.
And did want to highlight that if you do not attend 6 practices, outside lessons are required. So we do try to see you at least 6 times. And that's purely just so Kelsey and I have a better idea of how to coach you at a show.
Because I have had people say, well, I ride with a trainer outside of practices, and can that count? And that is great and good practice, but we also need to be able to coach you at the show and know you as a rider. So that's why we want to have you attend as much as possible. But like Emily said, we're super flexible. And if the group practices don't work, then reach out and we'll figure something out. And then for shows, like I had said before, each rider can compete in a maximum of 6 regular shows. So we'll have the 3 in Iowa and the 3 in Nebraska. So that's a question I get a lot. Are we showing every weekend? Are we having to travel? So you basically just have the expense of 2 weekends without the regional and national show. So it isn't a ton of time commitment on the weekends. However, those are busy weekends. At our shows, there are horsemanship classes, ranch riding classes, and reining classes. And it kind of depends on your level and where we place you to know what exactly you'll compete in. And we won't know that right away. That will be something that's decided after camp prior to our first show. And then when you get there, it runs like a collegiate show where it's a draw format, and the draw is posted prior to the start of the show. So you'll kind of watch the horses warm up. You draw for a horse, and then you go in and you show it. And then you get points based on how you do at the show. So let's say you got first place, that gives you 7 points. And then your goal is to get 15 points to be able to qualify for regionals. So you have 6 shows to do that. If you got third place, that's like 4 points. So we'll go over the point system a little bit more. So you might not need all 6 shows to qualify. If you win your first 3 shows, then you're already qualified for regionals. And then we talked about the national finals are super fun, and those are at the end of June at the Paint World in Texas.
Here's a couple more photos of us from nationals. This was 2 years ago, and then this was just a couple months ago.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
We mentioned the divisions a little bit. And if you're in high school, these are the divisions. So the open horsemanship and open reining are for those kids that have shown at a pretty high level or they've been on the team before and pointed up to the open. But to start out in the open, you would have had to show at the AQHA level pretty high. Like, for example, maybe you've been to the World Show, or you have a lot of points in the youth horsemanship or the youth reining. So that's kind of how that's figured out. And to compete in reining at IEA, you have had to have had at least a year of professional reining instruction prior to competing. So those are the kids that have actually went and shown their own reining horse to be able to compete in that open reining. And then moving down, the intermediate horsemanship are for kids that have also competed at a pretty high level in like the breed show circuits, or they've pointed up from being on the team before. And then to compete in that intermediate reining, you have to have a minimum of 6 months of professional reining instruction. And then the novice is where a lot of you start, because that's the kids that have competed maybe pretty heavily in the 4-H and open circuit. They've done some AQHA shows. And then the ranch riding goes along with that novice level. And they have had to have a minimum of 6 months of reining or ranch instruction. And then down to the beginner, those are kids that maybe have loped at a show, but they haven't loped at a lot of shows. So less than 12 shows in their life. And they feel confident that they can lope in a group of horses on an unfamiliar horse. And then the walk trot division are for kids that are brand new to riding. They have not competed at a lope at a show before, or more than 6 times, and they can trot confidently in a group of horses. And these are more for your knowledge. Coach Emily and I will help place you and get you in the appropriate division for your level.
And so those kind of mirror in the middle school. So that future intermediate class is your top level. You probably have shown at quarter horse, gone to a world show, an NRHA show, and done well. And then the future novice is less than 10 points in any of those associations. You have a minimum of 6 months of professional reining or ranch riding. And then the future beginner is you've not competed at a lope more than 12 times, but you can lope confidently in a group of horses on an unfamiliar horse. And then the future beginner is you've not competed at a lope more than 6 times, and you can trot confidently in a group of horses. And like Kelsey said, this is kind of just for your information. We'll kind of make these decisions after camp and put you in the best one. And then we also can, like after our first show, if we feel that you should be in a much higher class or anything like that, we can switch after the first show as well. But again, we kind of make those decisions.
Okay, so the cost is the other thing that I get questioned a lot, because we know that showing horses can be expensive. We feel that we've made it as user-friendly as possible to keep the cost down. So if you're a new member, when you come to camp, it will be $260, but that includes a team jacket and polo with your name on it that you'll wear to shows. And then dues are $100, and that just helps with the horse care, the upkeep. I also pay for team insurance and for us to start the team, quite a bit of money to the IEA. So that helps cover those costs. And then the camp instruction is $60 per rider. If you've been on the team in the past, when you come to camp, it'll be $160 because you don't need a new jacket or polo unless yours doesn't fit, and you can let Coach Emily and I know that. And then you'll do the $100 dues and the $60 camp. So the payments due before or at camp. So that's something to think about before camp. And then throughout the fall, I like everyone to get in 6 practices. So if you do the 6 practices at $40 a practice, it's $240 for the fall semester. And I can have people pay monthly or by the semester, but it breaks down to $40 a practice. And then this is the IEA membership fee is just a one-time fee. It's $70 to join the IEA. Emily, do you want to show them what that looks like when they go to the IEA website?
Yes. So this is what the IEA website looks like. I just Googled IEA registration, and then you click here.
and you'll just go through the signatures and pay the $70. And our team has already joined and has everything complete, so you should be able to click Big Red Elite and join our team. We will be able to see that you have joined the team on the IEA database. And then, so that's kind of the cost with practices and gear. There will be additional gear that you can order. It's not required, but we've done sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of things that people can buy and parents can buy as well, but those aren't required. And then for shows, that's the other kind of big question. So when you go to a show, if you only compete in horsemanship, so for example, at that Des Moines show, if you compete in horsemanship at all 3 shows, it would be $45 per show to compete. And that then is your expense for the weekend. If you are competing in horsemanship and ranch riding or horsemanship and reining, then it would be $90 a show because you're in 2 different events. And then we charge a coaching fee of $35 a show. And most weekends that we go do, like we said, have 2 to 3 shows. So just to kind of keep in mind the cost of those shows. And then we also split the coach, travel, hotel, and meals evenly amongst team members. That usually doesn't add up to that much because we usually have a pretty big team. But it's really only the 2 regular season show weekends. So that it might seem like kind of a big expense for the weekend, but it is only 2 times throughout the year. And then regionals and nationals have a little bit higher class fee, and the coaching fee might be a little bit more if only a few riders qualify, or it might be the same if a lot of riders qualify. So that just kind of depends. And then we get some fundraising money from hosting our home show, and usually that has covered the coaches to travel to nationals, which is a big expense saver for our members, so they don't have to pay for our hotels and our plane tickets and things like that to go to nationals.
All right. So for apparel, a team jacket and polo is required. We wear those to all the shows. It kind of helps so we all look the same. People know who we belong to. And it's just a good recognition for our team. Other team gear is available for purchase. We did buckles last year. Those were really good. We usually do some additional shirts for nationals. And then obviously, if any rider wants to purchase their own, they're more than welcome. Each rider is responsible for furnishing their own show clothes. So a shaped hat, felt is preferred. In ranch, you can have a straw hat if you'd like. Black helmet is required for beginners and walk trot, senior or high school and middle school. Chaps, so they need to be long enough that they cover your boots, but also, not frayed or scuffed up really bad. But usually most people wear black unless you have a fun outfit that you like to wear that looks good. And then chinks for ranch are okay. And then a belt, show shirt, black boots, and spurs. You'll need ball and rowel spurs. Just because some horses are rowel, some horses are ball, and some obviously are no spurs, but majority of riders we encourage to have both, so you're not having to borrow from someone who might be in your same class. So here's some examples for what they look like. So something fitted, it needs to not be super big to be able to show how good your posture is. It can have some sparkle on it. Like Kayla's is pretty minimal. Helene's kind of has a little bit in the middle, and then this is one that I would say has a lot of sparkle. Again, just keep in mind that the more sparkle you have, the more the judge can see you move. But just try to have something that's fitted. For reining, usually a button down. Girls will wear a scarf or a bolero. And then all these chaps are perfectly acceptable for reining. Just make sure they match and they look nice. Ranch, kind of the same shtick. A button down shirt is great. A lot of girls will wear a wild rag or some kind of scarf, and then just make sure your hat is clean. You can wear a straw hat in ranch, but it needs to be a nicer straw hat that's still shaped well and clean. And then chaps or chinks are perfectly acceptable. This is at nationals, so you can even see this guy in the back here. That's also a perfectly acceptable outfit for a ranch.
Okay. A few team horses will be available for practices, but Coach Emily and I can only have so many horses. So that's why we said if you're willing to share a horse for practice, we can help compensate that $10 a horse. And then, especially if you're willing to share a horse for our home show, we really, really appreciate it because we need all the good horses that we can. You'll be compensated $100 a horse for that for the weekend. And having new horses to learn on is something that's going to improve everybody's riding skills. So we thank you for considering.
All right, so how to sign up? We kind of went through that, but there's a link here. There also is a Google form that's linked here. This is what it looks like. We just ask for your email, rider's name, your parents' name, your contact info, and so a little bit of background on your riding and show experience, just so like Kelsey and I said, we can kind of evaluate you and your level you're at, so we can make sure you're in a division that you're going to be competitive in.
And past members do need to fill that out. That's what tells me that you're doing the team again. So just because you've done it and you assume that I think you're doing it, just make sure you fill that out so I know that you are committed and planning on being part of the team.
That's also the way Kelsey and I reach out to set up practices is through that contact information. So we also need to do that to make sure you know who you're going to practice with and when you're available. And then you need to join this Facebook page. This is how we kind of share a lot of the info for the team. So it's a private, members only. You have to request to join it. But we will post updates, any questions. A lot of times people have show clothes for sale, stuff like that. That all runs through this Facebook page. If you have any questions on that, make sure you let Kelsey or I know.
And once you join the team, we will add you to that as well if you can't find it. So we have kind of our public Facebook page, but this is for people only on the team. And we do a lot of updates through there. So make sure that you become a member of that.
Yes. And like we said, if you have any questions, be sure and let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to getting started and meeting all of you.
Yep. And if you can attend the open house to meet me next Wednesday at 6 o'clock, August 14th at the barn, that would be awesome. But we'll also have this video available for you to relook at if you have questions, and I'll have the slideshow to share, and we'll go from there. So we look forward to our season. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.